Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is the Mubarak days of Dhul Hijjah. We are in the 10 days, the final 10 days. The countdown has begun. And of course, I just think that there's huge excitement in the Holy Lands, not to say that we're not undergoing that spiritual upliftment as well. There's lots of things we are doing back home to share in the spirit and the spirituality of the Mubarak days of Dhul Hajj. It is 5 after 12 o'clock, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the show this morning Adli Jacobs, who is an old colleague. We go back many years, alhamdulillah. He is a writer, a storyteller, and also heritage researcher based in the Western Cape. He is also the author of From Chains to Quran, the Cape's first pilgrim. And he goes on to say, and my bloodline, alhamdulillah, you must be so proud. This, of course, is a powerful reflection on the life of his ancestor, that is Haji Hassanuddin. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yes,
It is believed that Haji Hassanuddin was the first South African Muslim to perform Hajj in the 1830s. What a beautiful legacy. You and your family must be so proud. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the show.
wa alaikum salam, truly, and wonderful for giving me this opportunity to share and whatever you'd like to investigate around this journey that has taken us a long while. My sister Yasmin and I had been asking my dad's cousins so many years ago because we had these myth stories in our family around what we thought was a tuang, and someone said, one of my uncles had said this, and we wanted to investigate this because we couldn't even find where this would be in where the grave might be, But yeah, and so in that period, we had been doing some of that research, and at one point we almost stopped, and then we went for Hajj in 1997. So when I came back from Hajj, I was quite inspired of the Hajj itself because 1997 was quite a challenging Hajj because of the fire on Mina at that period. So when we got back, I was so inspired of the Hajj itself. I started to do a magazine called Al Hujaj, and in that period, a neighbor of us came to call my dad and says, "Your son's done this magazine, so tell him to come over, And then I went to my dad's house in Primrose Park in Cape Town, and Buddha Hussein, just interrogated me, and I didn't realize he was doing a thesis. And he did this thesis, around Muslims in slavery, and all of, and I didn't know at the time that he was looking at Hujjaj and Hajj, looking at who were the first ones that went for Hajj, and so even though I read his thesis later, I didn't get it. It took me a while, and I mean really a while. Just before, I think a while before the COVID, the virus,
The
and some
global
of
shutdown.
you know it
Yeah.
was quite heavy.
Let me
But
come in here. Let me come in here, Adli. Um, Two things that I need you to, for those listeners and viewers who pick up this conversation. You use the word tuang a little earlier on. Please explain, because
yeah,
we, not all of us are from the Western Cape, number one. Number two, also the issue or the myth, or perhaps the facts and the myths around the early arrivals in the Western Cape. and the majority of them being slaves. That's not
Yes.
necessarily true, is it? Because a lot of them came from royal lineage. And I
Yes.
think
Yes.
perhaps
Yes.
you and your family can be very proud, because I think you guys have that bloodline as well. So can you share with us, please?
Look, yeah. Look, it was
Tuang first, the meaning of tuang.
yeah. The word tuang. It well in it's a word in Malaysia amongst the Javanese as well. And it's a quick answer would be sir, but it's actually deeper than that. Here in South Africa, and in the Cape, the word tuang actually means part of the awliya,
Oh,
Sufik,
mashallah.
or and there's no evidence, in fact, in my lineage or my ancestor, because but the story in the family really went looked after, wanted to find out where did he came from. And in fact, our ancestor was a slave.
Oh,
In fact, my grandmother then, in other words, his mom, and her name came out. We discovered that it is Jan Paka was her name. In other words, most likely the name was given by those who owned them. We don't even know where she came from. Maybe she came from India. Maybe she became a slave as a result of problems that happened in their family, whether it was debt, because there were a number of reasons as to people become slaves. So the point is, there were two of them. It was him and his brother. So in other words, there were two kids that came out of this, and I didn't even know how it was that they became these kids, because the man who owned them, he was married to her. He captured her as a person that came from Germany. And what happened was that he sold them again to another Dutch person. Okay. And for us, it was. I mean, I felt quite hit by this, because I thought that we needed to find the history of that also. But in any case, when he did get his, the person who then bought them from the one slave or slaver to the other, um,
slave traders.
so when they were in the next set of family, that person, in fact, he put in his will that that when he dies, that they must be freed. Not only that, they also got us a stipend as a result of this. Based on that stipends, this is what Hassanuddin did, was he took that money and then invested in going for Hajj.
Mashallah.
And
Mashallah.
this was
How,
the powerful part of it. Yeah.
mashallah. How did you, number one, and I guess that's the story of very many families from the Western Cape, Western and Eastern Cape. We talk about being descendants of slaves, uh, but there's also very many families that are descendants of royalty
Yes.
who, whose forefathers were abandoned for political reasons to the Cape. But
Yes.
how did you as a family deal with that information? It must have been painful at at I guess, in some sense, a revelation and the relief of knowing exactly who you are and your history, because that can be so empowering. But on
Yeah.
the other hand, the sadness that your forefathers were slaves in captivity. And this is the type of stuff that we read in history books. It's not meant to be in our histories.
Yeah. Yeah. No, really, but it's quite fascinating. But also, it's about being able to in fact find that history of it into the archives. That where do they come from? I mean, you take some of our the Tuangs like Tuang Guru and Tuang Yusuf, and these were royalty, definitely. In fact, that is how they got sent to the Cape, so they can keep them and hold them and to try to destroy the anti-colonial fighters, at the time. So, but at the same time, there's wonderful opportunities to go and search this. Where exactly do we come from? It's one of the reasons when people, I use my surname Jacobs. Okay, we're all Jacobs, but I've changed as a pen name. I've been using my surname Yakubi simply because it's the Arabic version of the very same word that says Jacobs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we need to go for an ad break. When we come back, because it is the Mubarak days of Dhul Hijjah, I'd like you to tell us the story about your great, 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 great grandfather being the first person who performed Hajj from the Western Cape. How did you stumble on that story? And talk to us also about the beautiful pictures and what came out from those archives. So do stay with us. My guest is Adli Jacobs, and we are talking Hajj, but Hajj in the 1830s. Stay with us.
Penny Appeal's Education First campaign helps children to get access to quality education.
I'm 14 years old. When I grow up, I'd like to be a scientist.
We believe every child belongs at school,
And we want education, a better education.
learning and dreaming their way to a better future. With your help, we can provide classrooms, desks, stationery packs, and school shoes. Help make these dreams a reality. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
This Eid al-Adha, your Qurbani can help feed the needy across the world for as little as 995 Rand. We pride ourselves in ensuring that only the best animals are chosen and that your sacrifice is carried out in a dignified manner. Our teams distribute fresh meat during the days of Eid, tackling hunger in needy communities. Follow the footsteps of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and give your Qurbani today. Call us on 021 633 6413 or visit our website at muslimhands.org.za. Muslim Hands, united for the needy.
Dad, these Frymax chips are so tasty.
Wow, that really takes me back. My dad bought me a Frymax chips every day after school. They were my favorite when I was your age as well. Quality is at the very heart of what we do, and that's why we ensure that every Frymax packet is filled with the beautiful goodness and flavor-packed taste that you've come to expect from us since 1982. Frymax, from generation to generation.
Abu Hurairah narrated that he heard the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, "In black seed there is a healing for every disease except death." Experience the health benefits of this ancient blessed seed by using the Tib Black Seed range. Black seed assists the body to boost immunity, regulate blood sugar levels, reduce inflammation, and act as a potent antioxidant. Experience a holistic approach to health by introducing the Tib Black Seed range into your routine. Available in capsules, pure cold-pressed oil, and a vapor rub. Trust Tib Health Sciences for quality black seed products. For more information, visit blackseed.co.za. Available at leading pharmacies.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future. We've got you covered. Build on your wealth portfolio with Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange. Visit us at 151 Stephen Dlamini Road, Musgrave, Durban, or call us on 031-202-4700 for more information. Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. The time is 12:20 exactly, and my guest is Adli Jacobs. We are talking about his lineage, the Cape's first pilgrim and his bloodline. This is really a powerful reflection on the life of his ancestor, Haji Hassanuddin, believed to be the first South African Muslim to perform Hajj in the 1830s. And in the next 10 minutes, which is all the time we have left on this show, we're going to hand over to Adli Jacobs to share that story with us, the story of the Hajj way back in 1830. And I should imagine that trip was made by ship. Welcome back, Adli Jacobs, and over to you.
No, Julie, I was quite fascinated of looking at this. It took me a while to discover that that this is one of the first Hujjaj, that took ship, obviously, took a ship to go to Makkah. But then we also discovered he was there for about 3 years during that whole period. Unfortunately, we don't have any really evidence, around it. But what we do know is that when he came back, he, in fact, he didn't choose the name Hassanuddin first. He had the name Karel, and then the surname was probably Barendse. In other words, owned by Barends.
Sure.
He dropped that surname immediately. Fortunately, he was a reader. He could write and read, and he could also then send documents and letters into to the government at the time, at this ruling colonial period. And he changed his surname, and said, "I'm Karel Pilgrim." In other words, he's a Haji. So I'm a Haji. I'm Karel Haji. He then went on to change the name later to Hassanuddin. But whenever he used to write in his letters, Karel Pilgrim. And that became quite famous at the time. He had I think there's about something a good few number of kids. In fact, our grandmother was Hatia, and in our family they remember her very well as Oma Khati. And we were looking. I was looking for more type of details, so I went some research on the issue. And she also went for Hajj then. She and her brother, also went for Hajj. And her brother was a very interesting character too. His surname was Effendi. And that's where the research came from. That is how I discovered all of these type of insights around this. Because the question that the researchers they were asking, was there an Ottoman? How come his surname is Effendi? And then I discovered that this uncle then of mine actually made up the surname Effendi because He had been trained to be a teacher, like his dad, because Karel Pilgrim used to teach kids. I mean, there's this photograph, there's this sketch actually that was found. Two of them, but in the castle of Good Hope, and there is this man with his turban on, and there are all of these kids around him with his kalam, his key, his pen, teaching them Quran, teaching them Islam. And so he was a teacher. He started out being a tailor actually, but through after the Hajj, he then started to teach as a in Cape Town they would say a khalifa, muallim, in other words. Now his son, he was also then trained to be a teacher, and when he went for Hajj, again later came back, he then became the schoolmaster of the Ottoman school in Cape Town before the real Effendi arrived from Turkey at that time. So that's quite fascinating.
All right. Can I come in here? Is there any other evidence or any other literature pertaining to your great grandfather's experiences on Hajj, the journey to and back, and any reason stated for why he stayed there for 3 months? Also, we need to apply our minds and realize that the journey obviously took a couple of weeks. So perhaps 3 or 4 weeks to get there and 3 or 4 weeks to come back. So the actual stay in the Holy Lands might have been very short. Is there any documents pertaining to that part of his journey to Hajj and back?
Yeah, well, the short answer would be no, there's not. There's very little. In fact, we were looking for some of that evidence, we had this myth family, a part in the family around these scriptures that he had been given as heirlooms from down the line, from one set of families to the next, and somehow a lot of those documents got lost. But for me, the interesting insight was that there is in fact a grave stone that was written there, and the entire thing was written in Arabic, scriptured. And I found this was quite significant, because how could someone has been able to write up that's not just inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, not just only bismillahir rahmanir rahim, but a whole host of descriptions as to who he is, where he came from in Arabic. So what does it tell you? It tells you that for those 3 years that he was on Hajj, he clearly got learnt. He learnt Arabic, that he clearly learnt his Quran, not just reciting, reading it, but most likely to also understood what it was. Now, this was very unusual, because after the time of Tuan Guru, Muslims in Cape Town, we were struggling. People had to teach others, but very slowly, because people were wrapped up in their own languages, in Dutch and then English. And so those were quite challenges in our community. So there are very few people who could actually speak Arabic clearly. So not only did Karel Pilgrim speak and write in Arabic, he had also taught his kids in it. So when my grandmother Omachati, she almost lived for 100 years, huh? So into the early 1900s, huh? And a journalist met her, found her at a wedding, and there she was. And but she was at her last. So as she was dying, this journalist was amazed at people's response to her. It went when she died, people all over from all the various masajid used to make the announcement, Khatid Maningal, she had died. Please, you must come. And people, there were hundreds of people. And I was quite amazed at this. I didn't know this. My family didn't know this until I discovered this by chance for a journalist, that is some white man that we had no idea of. And so it's quite fascinating, quite intriguing.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I'm really sad that there wasn't any further documented proof about your ancestors' stay in the Holy Lands, because I think that would make for riveting reading and listening. But undoubtedly, you're going to still further your research and see what else you can dig up. But in a future program, I would like to really unpack the heritage of the Cape Malays or the Cape Muslims, inshallah. I think it's a very fascinating discussion. I think it's been done over and over and over again, but it's a story we don't tire off. In wrapping up, what do you want to say to our listeners regarding the Mubarak days of Dhul Hijjah?
We've got a legacy in our not just in our community, but in going for Hajj. What I really love about the Cape is that people they come and shake hands when they go, and then when they come back from Hajj, people go and sit at their feet at their homes, not for the food, but listening to their stories and their insights of Hajj. This is the opportunity we have for this Hajj. When people come back from Hajj, go and meet at their house and ask them, share us how you were inspired at Hajj, so that you can then build it up for your own and to inspire your kids. And I think that this is the opportunity that we have with this coming up now. Hajj, the Eid is coming, so don't just celebrate it, also capture it and hold on to the legacy.
Inshallah, and let's break away those silos that we've imprisoned ourselves in, this very un-Islamic way of now living and interacting by making appointments with people and worrying about not intruding on their time, in their space, and all of that nonsense. That seems to be the way we are living these days. It's time we broke down all of those shackles that we've really imprisoned ourselves in, because as Muslims, just the way we live and interact and our lifestyle should be about openness, about embracing, about love, and about sharing. So shukran so much for being with us on the show this morning. Can't wait to get talking to you again. Keep us in your du'as, and assalamu alaikum to you.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
It is 12:33. We're moving along, and just a reminder very quickly, that was Adli Jacobs. He's a writer, storyteller, and heritage researcher, talking to us about his lineage and, of course, the Mubarak days of Hajj. It is 12:33. This is the Mid-Morning Show.